The knock wasn't gentle. It rattled the frame like someone trying to prove a point. I froze halfway down the hallway, heart stuttering because I knew that rhythm. Not polite, not patient, entitled. When I opened the door, my sister stood there like she owned the ground beneath my feet. Arms crossed, chin lifted. That same look she'd worn my whole life, like I was something she tolerated, not someone she loved. "I'm not here to talk," she said. "We need the house." For a second, I honestly thought I was dreaming. That strange, floating feeling pressed against my chest. She had spent years reminding me I wasn't really family. Not like her. Not like them. And now she was standing in my doorway, acting like I owed her something. "I'm serious," she added, stepping forward like she might walk right past me. "You need to move out. My kids need space." My fingers tightened on the doorframe. The wood felt real. Solid. Not a dream. Her voice didn't echo. It cut. Something inside me snapped into place. Quiet. Cold.
Certain.
I didn't argue.
I didn't ask why.
I slammed the door so hard it shook the walls, and heard her gasp on the other side. Her gasp lingered on the other side of the door, sharp and offended, like I had broken some unspoken rule. I leaned my forehead against the wood, steadying myself, because my hands had started to shake. She didn't knock again. Of course she didn't. My sister never knocked twice. She expected doors to open for her. Growing up, she made sure I understood exactly where I stood. "Half doesn't count," she used to say whenever anyone called me her sister. Same father, different mother. That was enough for her to draw a line I was never allowed to cross. Family dinners, birthdays, holidays, she controlled the air in every room. If she smiled, everyone relaxed. If she didn't, I disappeared. And now she wanted my house. I pushed away from the door and walked into the living room, eyes scanning everything like I was seeing it for the first time. The couch I paid for. The walls I painted myself. The quiet I fought to build.
Mine.
A faint vibration buzzed against the table. My phone lit up. Her name filled the screen. I didn't answer. Another message followed. Then another. I picked it up slowly, already knowing this wasn't over. And her last text made my stomach drop. Her message was only one line. "Dad already agreed. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Dad. Of course she used him. She always knew exactly which door to push when she wanted something. I sank into the edge of the couch, phone still in my hand, pulse tightening in my throat. He hadn't called me. Not once. Not when I bought this place.
Not when I fixed the roof myself after that storm.
Not when I finally stopped waiting for approval that never came. But somehow he had agreed. Another message appeared. "We'll come back tomorrow. Be ready."
We. That word settled heavy in my chest.
Not just her. Her husband. Her kids. Her version of a complete family, the one I was never part of. I looked around again, slower this time. Every corner held something I built without them. Every inch felt earned. And suddenly, it wasn't confusion anymore. It was clarity. She wasn't asking. She never planned to. I stood up, walked to the hallway closet, and pulled down the old file box I hadn't opened in years. Dust coated the lid. My name was written across it in fading ink. I lifted it carefully, heart steady now, because if she wanted to play family, she picked the wrong house. The lid creaked when I opened it, like it had been waiting for this moment. Inside, everything was exactly where I left it. Documents. Copies. Old envelopes I never threw away.
Proof.
I sat cross-legged on the floor, pulling each paper out slowly. My heartbeat no longer rushed, just focused. Deed records. Transfer forms. Signatures.
Dates.
My name. Only mine. No shared ownership. No loopholes. No quiet agreements made behind my back. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding, but something still didn't sit right. Because my sister didn't bluff. If she said Dad agreed, then he must have said something.
My phone buzzed again.
This time it wasn't her. It was him. I stared at his name longer than I should have. Years of distance sat between us, heavy and unresolved. Still, I answered. His voice came through calm.
Too calm.
You should have told me you were struggling, he said. I frowned, confusion cutting through the calm I'd built. Struggling with what? A pause. Then, selling the house. My fingers tightened around the phone. I'm not selling anything, I said, steady but sharp. Silence stretched between us. Then he exhaled slowly and said something that turned everything colder. She told me you already agreed. For a second, I couldn't even breathe. Not because I was shocked, but because it finally made sense. She didn't misunderstand. She rewrote the story. I never said that, I told him. Each word slow, controlled. Another pause. Longer this time. I could hear him thinking, shifting pieces in his head, realizing something didn't fit. She showed me messages, he said carefully. Of course she did. My eyes moved to the file box, still open beside me. Proof in one hand, lies in the other. Then she showed you edited ones, I replied. Because I've never agreed to anything. Not now. Not ever. Silence again, but different now. He wasn't certain anymore. She said you were overwhelmed, he added. That you couldn't handle the place alone. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was predictable. She's been saying I don't belong my whole life, I said. Now suddenly she thinks I can't survive without her? His breathing changed. Subtle. Uneasy. She's bringing her family tomorrow, I continued. You should be here when she does.
A beat.
Then he said, quieter than I'd ever heard him. I will be. I didn't sleep. Not because I was afraid, because I needed everything clear. The house felt different that night. Not fragile. Not threatened.
Prepared.
I placed the documents neatly on the dining table.
Deed.
Transfer papers. Copies of every payment I'd made. Facts don't shout. They wait. Morning came heavy and quiet. Right on time. Tires crunched outside. Multiple doors opened. Voices layered over each other. Hers leading, confident, like she was walking into something already hers. Then the knock came again. Louder.
Sharper.
I opened the door this time, before she could hit it twice. She smiled when she saw me. Small, satisfied, like she'd already won. Behind her stood her husband, her kids, and Dad. His eyes met mine, searching, uncertain now. Let's not make a scene, she said lightly, already stepping forward. We talked about this. No, I said calm. You talked. Her smile flickered. Just for a second. She glanced back at Dad, expecting backup, expecting confirmation. He didn't move. I stepped aside, not to let them in, but to show the table behind me. Every document laid out. Every truth visible. Her eyes shifted past me, and for the first time I saw something crack. She stepped inside, anyway.
Slow.
Careful. Like she could still control the room if she didn't show fear. Her husband hovered near the doorway, uncertain now, his hand resting lightly on their youngest shoulder. Even the kids went quiet. She walked to the table, eyes scanning the papers without touching them. This doesn't prove anything, she said too quickly. It proves everything, I replied. Dad moved closer finally. He picked up the top document, reading it in full this time. Not skimming. Not assuming. The silence thickened. Her confidence didn't disappear. It shifted.
Sharper.
Defensive. You're overreacting, she said, turning toward him. She told me she couldn't handle it. She wanted help. I held her gaze. Show him. A flicker. The messages I added. The ones you showed him. Her jaw tightened. She reached for her phone, unlocking it fast, like speed could replace certainty. She scrolled.
Stopped.
Scrolled again. Nothing landed the same way it did before. Because this time he was watching closely. Why are there gaps? He asked quietly.
She froze.
Just enough. I stepped forward, voice steady. Because she deleted the parts where I said no. The room didn't explode. It collapsed quietly. My sister's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Not denial. Not anger. Just nothing. Dad set the phone down on the table like it weighed more than it should. His eyes stayed on her, not me. Is that true? He asked. She swallowed, looked at her husband, then at the floor. I was trying to fix things, she said finally.
Fix.
That word almost made me laugh again. You were trying to take something that isn't yours, I replied. That's not fixing. That's control. Her husband stepped back, a quiet shift, but it said everything. Even her kids moved closer to him, away from her. Dad exhaled slowly, years of silence breaking in one moment. I should have asked her first, he said, meaning me. It wasn't an apology, but it was the closest I'd ever get. She grabbed her bag, movements sharp now, pride cracking where certainty used to live. This isn't over, she muttered. I didn't follow her to the door. I didn't need to. The house stayed still after they left. Still mine. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I had to prove I belonged.